moments when you stop and ask yourself, how did I get here? Like, why am I standing here? Well, this is definitely one of those moments for me. And I find myself going back to the beginning, back to my roots. I was born to incredible parents, amazing parents who served as doctors in the Indian Army. I was the firstborn, and as far back as I can remember, I made my parents very proud and happy 99% of the time. Okay, slight exaggerations of personal achievements are allowed from time to time, don't you think? My brother was born a few years later, and even then, nothing changed for me. We were both given equal opportunities, and I want to emphasize this. I want to really emphasize this for you because I don't think a lot of people might understand that being equal might seem very normal. But where I come from, India, and a lot of developing countries around the world, more often than not, this is an exception. It's actually a privilege. My first experience of the glaring disparity between boys and girls came at a very, very young age. I grew up in a middle-class family with extremely philanthropic parents who constantly reminded me and my brother how lucky we were and how giving back to those who were less fortunate was not a choice, it was a way of life.
Is to leave behind a legacy. I want the people who have loved me, people who have shown faith in me. Look, I'm a simple girl who came out of army school from Bareilly. I represent each and every one of these people who's sitting here today. Because if I can be sitting here, every one of them can. And that's the dream we chase, right? The dream we chase is to not have a tangible, कि मुझे गाड़ी खरीदनी है, or I want to be able to get these many zeros on my check. For me, it has always been much bigger than that. It's a bigger picture. It's to be able to, every one of my fans or people who are well-wishers, to turn around and say, yeah, that was the right reason we loved her. She was an achiever. I want to be able to break through glass ceiling.
A social responsibility is something we all as individuals need to feel. But yes, as a public person, I do see that I have a platform where people may not adhere to what I say, but they will hear me. I'm a conduit, a means to an end. Like when I make my trips with UNICEF or I do philanthropy, I'm not physically changing the world, but I'm bringing attention to something where, unfortunately, people like to read about me falling on the red carpet a lot more than anything else that I do. So I take that power and actually bring the attention onto something that the world actually needs to talk about. And yes, I do think that's a social responsibility of public people, and a lot more people need to do it.
Growing up was conflicted about feminism. I didn't understand what the word meant, like a lot of us don't still. It took me a little time to understand what it means. Now, feminism is different to everyone. To me, what feminism stands for is give me the ability to make my own decisions without judging me. Just the same kind of freedom men have had for such a long time. Women should sound like this. Women should wear this. Women at this point should get married. We're always told what we should do. We need to be able to decide what we should do, whatever that is. So to me, that freedom is feminism. Thank you. Second, I think that growing up, the one thing that looking back now, what I realized was for such a long time, we've always been told as women that the best one will get the boy or the best one will get the job. And we sort of have been conditioned to push each other out of the way so that we can be the better one. And if we empower another woman, right? If I empower a woman who's sitting next to me, I might lose the opportunity. It's conditioning. And we've been conditioned to be that way. This is the first time in a very long time, at least in my lifetime, that I have seen women embracing each other, women empowering each other, women standing up for each other. And that is such a critical time. When women fought before us, generations before us, for us to have the ability to vote, we don't even think about it today, sitting in this room. Think about what all they went through. So what we're doing today is we're seeding the thought for your daughters, for my daughter's daughters, for kids who will not have to think about the gender disparity. They'll not have to think about like how it feels to be a woman who's marginalized, or what it feels like to be traumatized by men in power. They won't have to think about it because we will create a world where men are afraid to do that. We will create a world together where we stand by each other and say, no, I'm sorry, you're not doing this to my daughter because you did it to me, and that's enough. And that is such a powerful time to be a woman.
And violence is comes out in so many forms, whether that's sexuality, whether that is physical violence, emotional violence. The one thing that I have seen that usually works within communities is to be able to empower women to be, and young girls, giving them the right to tell them it is okay, especially in developing countries like you were speaking, ma'am, right now, about if a girl wears a certain outfit, she's judged for it and she asked to be raped. Or if a girl hits puberty, she will not be allowed to go to school anymore because she might be raped. Or it might, and that will bring honor, that will bring dishonor to the family. These are certain little things that are set in mindsets which have been for thousands of years been told to us as women that we dictate our intention or everything that we want to achieve by the clothes that we wear or the way that we speak or how loudly we speak or what point we're trying to make. So what has worked is empowering these young girls and boys in schools, by telling them that a real man is not violent and a real woman is not tolerant of it. Because what happens is society tells boys that it's okay to be violent, and then women just become tolerant. And when these girls are empowered, I've seen so many kids that I've met who go into their own communities, and despite of being ousted, despite of being told that they're too much women and they're bad influences and they will probably, turn the other girls into bad influences, they go out there, knock on doors and make the change. So we need to start young. We are not going to be able to change the mindsets of older people, unfortunately.